This podcast is brought to you by Sales School. Sales School in Aflac, Los Angeles is #1 in the country, where top agents are made, deals get done, and yes, the duck would totally enroll if he could. Join the best, learn from the best, and sell like the best. Right here in Los Angeles with Michelle Lee. Welcome back to the LA Legends, where Aflac pros sharpen skills, swap stories, build the LA South market one legend at a time. I'm Michael Fisher.
And I'm Michelle Lee. Each week, we sit down with leaders who have not only built incredible careers, but who also pour into others and teaching us how to lead with purpose and intention. Today, we have a very special guest, Joe Buzzello, Market Director in Arizona.
Welcome, Joe. Joe was my first SSE, now Market Director, over 16 years ago. He was the one that actually helped grow LA to the monster that it's become. He started back in 1979 in sales. He has incredible stories, published author, occasionally a funny man. Actually, no, just a great leader. He's been a personal mentor of mine for a really long time. And yeah, it's great because now I have the opportunity to work with him as a peer, which is crazy for me to even think about.
What's incredible to me is I get the opportunity to work with you two.
Born-
I've already stolen stuff from you, Michael and Michelle. I've been stealing stuff from you for the last 6-9 months. So what's incredible is I get to learn from you guys.
I've had the opportunity to know Joe, even though never actually being part of his team. I came in after he stepped away from that position, and just learning. I had an opportunity to interview with Becoming a Region, and one of the first people I called was, "Hey, Joe." And I known, through friendships and, through others we know in this industry, but you definitely have a way of looking beyond the numbers, right? Building the philosophy and how to actually grow leader. And something we're going to definitely hit on today, which is reflective leadership, right? Knowing your environment, being ready to actually receive some of that information, building what we call the board of directors, some reflecting on how we learn and depending on the type of leaders that we're trying to grow, and something we call psychic capital too.
All right, Joe. So you spoke at it as one of your. It was like a Michael Jordan moment. You were sick. You were just putting it all together. We're in Dallas. You're in front of the room, and you just had a huge drop the mic moment when you started talking about reflective leadership. You hit people like right between the eyes, and you didn't hold back in that. So what does it mean for you? Where did reflective leadership come into your life?
You're going to find this funny, but I actually woke up one morning. I dream a lot, and I don't often remember my dreams. And my wife always gets me coffee in the morning, and the first question she asks me, "Did you dream about me last night?" I actually woke up one morning, and this term reflective leadership just popped into my mind. And I don't know what I was dreaming before I woke up, but the term reflective leadership was almost like written in neon lights. What I realized is that I started thinking about how did I get here? And that happens when you're, older. When you're 60 something, you start thinking, well, how the hell did I get here? And what have I done? And what's led me here to these decisions and this place, financially, personally, professionally, everything. So reflective leadership came into my head. I started thinking about, why am I thinking about reflective leadership? And many successful sales leaders can't turn their brain off either. It's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse. But I think reflective leadership, first and foremost, it came to me. I started thinking about great leaders, my great mentors, and there's many of them. Maybe I intentionally attracted a lot of great mentors. I was blessed to have all these great leaders, but it's not enough to just have great leaders around you. You have to be open to and give them the ability to influence, be open to what they have to say, critically and otherwise, to be willing to take action on what they're suggesting you do, the direction they're suggesting you take your life or career, if you're asking for that input. It came to me in a dream, reflective leadership. So the reflective leadership was me understanding that I am here and I'm actually able to influence whoever is ready. And we'll talk about when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, which is something, I think is so critical as part of this. But reflective leadership is being open enough first and being able to attract the right people to pour into you, and then you're willing, and only at that point can you pour into others. So if we're in a leadership position and we're not practicing reflective leadership, if we're not looking for that next mentor, I'm looking for my next mentor. And again, I'm not
Mhm.
short on mentors. I have a lot of people I could call. Michelle, you mentioned Life's Board of Directors. We'll talk about that as well. But that's what reflective leadership is: the intentionality and willingness to first be poured into, and then the willingness and ability to pour into others. You're reflecting out what you've received.
Yeah, I mean, I think back, you've shared this story, you shared it, even on a different podcast, and I've heard you talk to me about it in the group. But um, even the person that actually put that like challenge out to you with Think and Grow Rich and just being like, hey, let's go out there, get the book, and like how you were one of the very first people or the first one that actually went out, got the book, read the book. You read it twice. I have a deep connection with that book as well. I think for a lot the listener that we have out there, if they are in that new associate side, it's like you look back, and for you that moment probably doesn't seem like that long ago. Like it just seems like, oh wow, but that was a catalyst moment that you can look back at when you're reflecting on your own success. Do you know why in that moment you actually were listening, why you were ready? Do you know why you were open? Because I've been closed off and open to leadership at many stages of my life.
So this is hard to say because my dad was such a perfect human being. Anyone who met my dad, I lost my dad many years ago, in 1987 he passed away from cancer at age 64. But my dad was a perfect human being. So this is going to sound like it's out of that context. But the reason I was so open is I didn't want to wind up like my dad.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is my dad was this great worker. He was a very diligent employee. He was a aerospace engineer. He worked on the Apollo missions. He was that team in the San Fernando Valley at Rocketdyne and Canoga Park that sent men to the moon. And so I grew up
wow.
very interested in the space race. He would actually build things in our garage at home, prototypes, and take them into Rocketdyne. And they wound up using balance test machines, two balance turbine engines to get those, there's some name for them, but those ballistics, they needed careful balancing. And he was this brilliant guy. And then the space race was over, and for anyone too young to remember, the federal government just cut off all the funding, and he
Hmm.
was done. He was laid off, and there was no ceremony, there was no pomp and circumstance, and all of a sudden he was older and of no use in his industry. The aerospace industry just shut down, and he went into the car business. He became a service manager at an Oldsmobile dealership, and he hated it, and he was doing it for a paycheck. And the most he ever made in his life, I think $42,000. And he was brilliant. He was a brilliant man. At a very young age, I realized that I didn't want to be, and by the way, in every other way, I wanted to be, and I'm still striving to be like my dad because he was so
Yeah.
wonderful. I knew I didn't want someone else to control my paycheck and my life.
Attracting and keeping the best talent means offering more than just a paycheck. Aflac Value Added Services delivers real life support for your team. Identity protection from IRIS, modern protection against scamming, phishing, and identity theft with proactive monitoring. Aflac Value Added Services, because supporting your team means supporting their whole well being.
Joe, you gave me chills. I had that exact same love for my father and admiration of as a worker and as a man. But also, I also watched everything as a employee, everything being taken from him within a 6 month period that he worked his entire life for. I still strive to be like him as a human being and also keep that work ethic that he had. But there's this other part that I think is out there that might be missing. So. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, and I wound up at the table in the back of the Monday morning meeting, Pennsylvania Life, Bud Cole, the agency director, and I'm, free donuts. So I'm back there, and I'm,
Yeah,
you know,
get him.
I I've never met a donut that I didn't like. So I was back there and he swooped down on me. By the way, the book, it's a prized possession and the pages are falling out and it's all,
Oh man.
highlighted and it says $3 on it. So this book, this Think and Grow Rich, it follows me everywhere I go. It's my most prized possession. And Napoleon Hill, if you have ever read it or you understand what the premise of the book is, Napoleon Hill unlocks your ability to think and dream bigger and obviously think and grow rich. He tells you in that book that there's nothing that you can accomplish if you apply the principles in the book. And the book still stands up today as one of the greatest PMA books and training books for the mind. There was this thing inside of me. I wanted to be told that there were no caps on my future through Bud and the book and others that I attracted. My parents, too. My parents, too, were very supportive. They didn't think I had a real job. I was selling accident policies on commission down the street in 1979. They didn't think that was a real job, but after my first year of selling those $39 accident policies, I had enough money to put a down payment down on a house and move out of the house.
They're like, okay.
They go, okay, so maybe it's a real job.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. That's crazy. I love that.
Well, it actually leads into our next question because we often say that we're direct products of what we read and Think and Grow Rich, right? Being a huge part of that and the people that we associate with. Can you expand on that for us?
So one of the other things Bud Cole said to me that day when he challenged me to go buy the book, and then 2 weeks later when he realized I had bought the book and I'd read it cover to cover 3 times, he came back and said, "You're a sharp guy. You're going to do well." He goes, "Let me tell you something." He said, "In 5 years from now, you're going to be a product of two things: who you associate with and what you read." I didn't get it at the time. I didn't understand how important a concept that was. And in today's world, we might say it differently. We're a product of who we associate with, who we allow into our personal and professional lives in an intimate fashion. And we're also a product of anything we put into our coconut. No one reads books anymore. I've written 6 books, but these damn millennials, Generation Y and Z, they don't read anymore. They do books on tape. But I'm
Yeah,
kidding. But
we're big audibles. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But
I
I'm
would,
not kidding.
yep.
So we may not say a product of what we read. We may say a product of what we allow into our brain through any form of media, social media, professional media, LinkedIn, anything the news. I like to say, turn off the news and turn on your muse because there isn't really a lot of good news on TV
No.
anymore. So what is
No.
your muse? What education can you put into your brain?
Mhm.
There's good reason for you to read once in a while if you can sit. But if you're in your car, you're traveling, I call it the traveling university. You should have, great podcasts like this, great books on tape. So today it would sound like this. It would be you're going to be a product in 5 years, 7 years. You're going to be a direct and very, very definite product of who you allow into your life personally and professionally. Who do you allow to influence you and what you take into your ears and eyes in every form of media. And it was so
Yeah.
true for me about 5 to 7 years after Bud said that to me. I was in a very different place. I was in a different industry. I had different people around me, and good, bad, and indifferent. And there were some good parts of it and some very negative things that happened in my life. But I can tell you that it hit me like a ton of bricks then. I was absolutely a product of what I had let into my head and who I had let into my life. I don't think it's any difference today. I think we need to be very careful. I'm not saying dump all your friends or stop going to family dinners. Maybe in some cases you need to do that. Maybe you do need to inspect who you're allowing in your life. And again, I'm
Yeah.
not don't take this out of context, but maybe we need to be more cautious, more careful about that.
Yeah, well said. As I've developed and grown in this career, I definitely have been more cognizant of my surroundings and trying to figure out, okay, is this someone that like I want to be the person in the room with others that are far beyond in their career that I'm trying to grow and match to. You know what I mean? And the further I've gone along, like I said this in a different episode earlier, it's like a seat on the table in a room that I want to be and learn from. a seat at
Right.
the table,
Right.
or be in the room, be a fly on the wall, in a space where I can absolutely learn from. But I think as you grow professionally, you get a lot more aware of who you're surrounding yourself with. So for our, growing leaders that we have today, how can they intentionally create a healthier environment for themselves for that growth? What are some recs that you would have for that?
I would say that first and foremost, that they need to be to create a healthy environment. So I'm a new leader, I'm an evolving leader. To create a healthy environment, there's something behavioral psychologists will tell us that the mind works in a very specific sequence. And that sequence is see, feel, act. And so the first thing I challenge any newer leader to do is be very aware of how the mind works, because sometimes a associate will act out, a new leader will act out, and the MKD or RSC will say, hey, you really need to check your actions, what you're saying and what you're doing. And it doesn't work that way. We see the actions, we see what the person said, what the person did that was possibly negative or destructive or distracting, and we don't like the actions, and we're asking them to check those actions and change that action. It doesn't work that way, because what happens is, if we back chain, those actions are caused by a set of feelings. We don't say something or do something unless a feeling gets in the middle and pushes us to do that. And we can't even check our feelings. You would think, okay, so we know we can't deal with the actions. We need to go deeper and deal with the feelings. No, you need to backchain even farther to the way we see things. And another word for see is perceive. So a new leader has to be very careful about the way they perceive things around them. Mary isn't going to work. My RSC hired her, assigned her to me. Now she won't do the work. I hate her. She's a time sucker. She's a time vampire. And if we adopt that perception, we'll start to feel a certain way, and we'll do and say things to Mary that will push Mary right out of the business. Now, maybe Mary does need to find another business, another bus to ride, or a different seat on our bus. But if we change that perception, if we see things differently, the way that I would choose to see Mary is, Mary's not working, she's not showing up and doing the work, there must be some reason for that. And rather than me rush to judgment and form a perception that causes feelings of anger, disappointment, resentment that she wasted my time, this is all that a new DSC or an RC or an MKD can go through. We have to go back to the perception, the way we see things. We need to change the perception, or at least check and make sure we're seeing things accurately. So the first way to create a great environment, in my opinion, is to understand how we think and understand that everything stems from the way we see things. And then the appropriate, if that's appropriate, the feelings will be appropriate, and what we say and what we do will be somewhat appropriate. Does that make sense? So that would be the first thing I would challenge them to do. Then beyond that, it goes to, who am I intentionally attracting? Asking the question, am I coachable? And if on a scale of 1 to 10 on the continuum that we teach, am I a 1, not very coachable at all? Am I a 10? I'm, wide open. I'll accept coaching from almost anyone. Where am I on that continuum, and why? And if I'm a 6 or 7, why am I not at least a 7 or 8? What's stopping me? So understanding how important perception is, and the proper perception, really being assessing of our coachability and why, and then starting to attract some great people around you, very intentionally attract mentors in your hierarchy. I've often said, if when you make $1, someone's making a dime, well, they need to provide value. I need to understand what they know, and I need to get them to pour into me. So we're intentionally attracting hierarchical coaches, but
Yep.
also peer advisory is very important as well.
The-
Struggling to connect with business owners? The Site Seller gives you the facts, talking points, and solutions you need right at your fingertips. Build trust, show value, and close deals with confidence. Site Seller, where conversations turn into partnerships.
Joe, you just hit on so many things, and it's like, yeah, I think all of us can relate to the feeling of like the energy vampire, or that like could be on our team, or that we perceive them to be. And Yeah, there's so many of those discussions and self-reflection that of the actual reality of it that like I was just even thinking like that we always and I need to always strive to work on better. um, I want to ask you, because you've hit on this a couple times in an environment, personally and professionally. What are some things that you've said no to? And this could be even recently. Things that you've said no to or got better at saying no to as a leader. I mean, this is, you talked about, the people that you spend time with. You talked about people, the events, also like, news. Do I start my day playing Russian roulette with the news? But what are things that you've said no to, stop doing, that's helped you create that environment personally?
I've actually, it's very easy for me to wake up in the morning, get that first cup of coffee, turn on the news, and it could be Fox News, CNN, it could be Squawk Box, and just sit there, an idiot drinking coffee, staring at the TV. I actually
Yeah.
I actually started saying no to that. And I've gone back to something that I used to do many years ago and I just stopped doing. Sometimes we do things that are very productive and for some reason we just stop doing them. And I was
Oh yeah.
taught early in my sales career by one of my mentors. He said, I like to get really good and positive thoughts in my head every morning, the first thing. And he was joking. I usually do it, when I go to the bathroom, I sit on the throne and I could read for a few minutes and there's no
Hmm.
one bothering me. And it actually, I started doing that again when I'd go to the bathroom in the morning. If you go into my bathroom, you'll see that I actually have a library of books stacked there. I usually read 3, 4 books at a time. I don't know why I do that, and it's probably wrong to do that, but I'm in several books, and the book.
It's going all right for you.
Yes, it's
It's
done it.
going all right.
Probably ADD undiagnosed. But one of the books I'm reading now is Stillness is the Key, and it talks about Zen Buddhism, Christian, and Judaic principles of stilling the mind so you can
Hmm.
make the right decisions. And it's just a very basic premise. But for example, I'm now hooked on that. And some of the other books I'm reading some other books, some spiritual books. One socioeconomic book called The Fourth Turning, blah blah blah. I like to not just do self help books, but learn about other
Yeah.
concepts, learn about things I don't know. I want to become better equipped to understand our macroeconomics in this world. So I'm reading about that. But the point is, instead of sitting there watching the news and getting mad at the right or getting mad at the left, and by the way, bad news will find you anyway. If bad news happens, you're going to hear about it throughout the
Yeah,
day.
you'll still be informed. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, the whole lie that people are like, "Oh, I do it to be informed." It's like, no.
No, you're going to get informed. Someone's going to
Yeah,
someone's going to tell you.
you'll know
So
Someone will say
I've
something
started
for sure.
for
so
sure.
I started saying no to input, that input that's forced in my head that I don't control. And I started saying yes to controlling my environment. I've gone back over the last 2 or 3 months. I've read 15 to 20 minutes every morning, and I start my day with some
Love
really
it.
interesting thoughts in my head. And that kind of sets a much better tone for me. So I've said no to that. I've also started
Nice.
really noticing time vampires and energy vampires around me. And I've started saying no to a lot of little things. Um, Interesting, Napoleon in his heyday would not open his mail for 3 weeks. So
Mm,
he ordered his team to open the mail and read it. And if there was something that if someone was bleeding out or someone was on fire, please bring it to my attention. But otherwise, read it, but don't bring me my mail immediately. Wait 3 weeks and then bring it to me. Because his philosophy was that most of the problems that would be in that mail, and we can think about our inbox today,
yeah.
most of the challenges there, if he didn't do anything or didn't even know about them, would resolve themselves.
Yeah, those are huge. You're absolutely right. I've been on a similar journey over the last 3, 4 years where I've had to say no to a lot of that stuff, and also just knowing that, like, hey, sometimes we get a little dopamine hit by opening our Outlook and trying to solve the entire world, and it's not, it's more self-serving than anything.
I'm gonna step into the board of directors that you've mentioned before. What does that actually mean, and who actually belongs on that board?
So the hierarchy, if you look at it first as a pyramidal structure, I love to surround myself with great peer advisors. So, and I would consider both of you that for me and some others. Not everyone, not every peer. I have to connect to that peer. I have to feel like that peer gets me and communicates the way I communicate, has a similar sense of humor. I don't surround myself with anyone that doesn't get my sense of humor because they won't stay around long anyway. So peer advisory, and then I'm always looking for hierarchical mentors. I would say that my hierarchical mentors with Aflac right now are obviously Chris Ashton. I've learned a lot from Chris in a very short period of time, and certainly Nate Harrison, who hired me into this position. So hierarchical, I consider Andy Glob as well. I've had a great friendship with Andy Glob for many decades. So hierarchical. And then I also, as you move up that pyramid, external coaches. I like the fact that you could look for people outside of your industry or company bubble, your Aflac bubble, that can give you some input and some feedback, not based on all the biases that we have because we're inside the bubble. So people outside of your bubble, they could act as coaches and mentors because they may see things differently and they have no bias. Then at the very top of the pyramid, the very top would be my life's board of directors, and they have to have more wisdom. They have to be wiser. So there are people that are wiser, typically older, who has done well both personally and professionally. These are people that you could go to with the biggest decisions you're going to make financially, professionally, personally. Could be, should I marry this person? Could be, should I buy this house or is now not the right time? It could be other financial or professional decisions you could bring your biggest challenges to, and they're going to be honest. They're not going to have a dog in the fight other than they love you, and they want to give you unvarnished advice based on the questions that you're asking.
I learn a lot. Take a lot of notes because also, yeah, you've been one of those, and it's crazy just because some of the people that you and I greatly respect, you've actually helped shape a lot of the decisions I made in my life. So you absolutely walk the walk, and I've seen that over the years.
Every hero needs a sidekick. The site seller is yours, helping you ask the right questions, show the right numbers, and land the right solutions. Navigate conversations like a pro and turn every business owner into a believer.
This is the rapid fire time where we have lightning questions, and we're going to try to one day get sponsors.
Is this going to be like I have to choose David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Exactly, 100%. Yep.
How do you choose?
How do you choose?
Let's go ahead and kick it off with what is like a daily or even weekly ritual that actually keeps you sharp, ready to go?
I am a parrot. So I don't have daily rituals. Every day has to be different. I have no rituals. I have no discipline. I've never been on a diet. I can't go on a diet. I eat and drink anything I want to eat and drink. I've never been in a gym. I've never worked out. I should be 300 pounds, but look how good I'm doing. But
you made it happen.
Honestly, I don't have any rituals. I want every day to be different and wonderful and surprising. Professionally, I have some discipline. Personally, I'm just a mess.
I love that. I will say you did say you have the throne though each morning. Yeah. So that was a good one. That was a good one. But a book that you've gifted the most that you have not authored, and that is also not Think and Grow Rich. What's the book that you think that you've gifted the most?
I think it's Maxwell's. I'm going to say 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Time. Yep, that's a huge one. Big one for me. So we love freeways here. You remember that, and that's why you moved away. So if you could have a billboard that would be out on the 405 freeway when the associates in LA South drive by every single morning when they're coming into the office, driving back when they're coming home, with either a mantra, message, or a call to action, what would that be? For this LA South team?
I think it would be, don't take yourself or what you're doing for a living too seriously.
I love that. That's also echoing one of your board of directors, Joe. That was aligned pretty quick. That was that's awesome.
What I be flack is what we do for a living, but if it becomes who we are, I don't think that's healthy at all. I think we do a much better job inside of our Aflac business as a leader when we don't take ourselves or what we do for a living too seriously. It's what we do for a living. It's not who we are. When it becomes who we are, I think that's very unhealthy.
Absolutely. I have seen that existential crisis and actually I've lived it.
Last rapid fire, one of actually our favorite questions is, what is a $300 or less purchase that has most improved your work life this year?
I would tell you the ice machine I got for my knee is
I was I was waiting for something knee related.
Walkability.
Yeah, I was waiting for. I was like, maybe. Never mind.
that
I was
has
gonna
changed
say.
my life. But no, all kidding aside, I can't even think of anything because I I'm in this weird place where I don't want or need anything. In fact, I'm trying to get rid of things out of my life. I'm trying to declutter and simplify my life. I gave some stuff away to a very good friend of mine. He's a Yankee fan, which means he's not very bright anyway. And I had some Yankee memorabilia that my uncle gave me like 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And I gave him, it was just sitting in a drawer, and I don't appreciate it because I'm a Dodger fan.
Right.
But I gifted this Yankee stuff to him and he was over the moon. So I can't even think, and this is weird. It's a great question, but I don't purchase anything and I try, and again, I don't want anything. I think I want a Ferrari. And I floated that out the other day to a friend of mine who collects Ferraris and Porsches, and he's got like
Mm-hmm.
16 cars. He calls it the Auto Grotto. And he said, before you do that, how many miles are you putting on it? How much are you willing to spend on service each year? And I'm kind of parsimonious. I'm kind of cheap. So he talked me into a Lexus LC 500. But I'm due for a new car. So I might, but under 300, there's probably some books I've read and purchased. But it's an interesting question. It causes me to think. But my answer would be, I don't buy anything and I don't want for anything. The only thing I really want right now is I want my team to do really, really well
Yeah.
professionally. And personally,
Yeah.
I want my wife to be happy. I want my daughter to thrive. My immediate family, I have a lot of wants in those areas, but materially purchasing things, I can't even think. I mean, my wife will get me stuff, but I don't buy anything. And I don't know that I'd even be able to go on Amazon and buy anything. I don't even know how Amazon works. If I actually need something, I tell them.
Awesome. Hey,
Fair
Joe,
enough.
that is awesome. And hey, I think a lot of Americans and a lot of people that are in this stage right now in life it's about having less and actually choosing things that actually are going to really make you happy and things do not. Once the bottom line bills are paid, things don't make you happy. Well, a couple things do. Maybe a Ferrari. I don't know.
We
Joe, I personally want to thank you so much for spending your time today and doing this. You invested some time during Power Weeks to do this for us. So I just want to say I appreciate you. I love you. You've taught me so much and you've always walked the walk. And my favorite thing about you, people say authenticity, but also you've told me many times when you're like, hey man, I fucked up on that or I screwed up or and and you've done things where you're like, hey, this is the areas that I'm getting better and I'm improving. It means a lot that you joined us today.
Joe, thank you for your influence and helping me make some big decisions in my life, in my career as well, and sharing your wisdom with our team today. That reflective leadership isn't the abstract, it's all about the practical side of things. So, for our listeners, ask yourself, what's actually shaping your environment? Are you ready for the teachers that are going to appear around you? And who is going to be on that board of directors for you as you grow into leadership or just, grow in general in our line of business? This has been the LA Legends. If today's conversation with Joe Buzzello inspired you, share it with someone on your team, subscribe for more, and until next time, keep leading with purpose.